Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, what should the Baltimore Ravens really do this offseason? Who should they really target? What moves would solidify a championship level team? Let's talk. The NFL has been super busy, super active in this 2025 offseason, probably more active before the start of free agency than I've seen in some time. You've seen a whole host of trades, big name, franchise named players on the move, guys like Debo, guys like Joe Tooney, and the potential for a guy like a DK Metcalf to be on the move. And you kind of see the level of moves we're seeing right now happen at the midway point of the NFL season, trade deadline, where teams are trying to solidify some roster spots, build a championship level team, and get ready for the down the stretch run. But I wonder what teams are up to this offseason, right? You're seeing a lot of shuffling. You're seeing a lot of cap space be created. Are teams going to divvy up the cap space and fill a lot of holes? Are teams going to rely less on the NFL draft to solidify rosters? Or are teams making moves to get prepared for bigger moves? I don't know. But when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, there has been no offseason that has provided opportunity to build a level of talent at a position we've all talked about for several years. That's the wide receiver position. Now, I'm not in that camp that we just have to go out and sign a big name wide receiver. But nor am I in the camp that the Baltimore Ravens don't have to worry about wide receiver this season. Yeah, understood. The Baltimore Ravens ran a lot of 2 tight ends, and it was super productive between Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. But when it came down to the finish, leaning on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely just didn't get it done. Specifically, leaning on Mark Andrews just didn't get it done. And at the same time, our wide receiver position was at a deficit. If you remember, Zay was out the entire playoffs, and Rashad Bateman had went down prior to the last few plays of the Baltimore Ravens offensive possession. So it really seems like we may need to build a higher level of talent and a higher level of depth in that wide receiver room. Now, can we wait on the draft and pick up some players? Sure we can. There's some talent. There's going to be some talent between wide receiver number 1 and probably wide receiver number 12. But if we're truly in a Super Bowl window, maybe we can't wait on the draft. Maybe we need to go get that veteran that we've been looking for, specifically that big-bodied wide receiver who could really turn the tide for the Baltimore Ravens. See, I've already pitched to you Mike Williams, and Mike Williams in concert with Zay and Bate will be a great fit. I really believe he could step into that third wide receiver position and provide what we've never had, and that's that trusted big body wide receiver who could be a downfield threat, the contested catch threat, and a red zone threat. He would be a solid pickup. But like I said, this offseason has provided opportunity to get big time playmakers into Baltimore. You know, Debo Samuel's name came up, but he got gone quickly. And really, I think if the Commanders had just held their horses, they probably could have come up with a better option over Debo, because shortly after the Debo trade, the DK Metcalf trade request came out. But let's move past all of that. Let's move past what every other team has done, and let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. With understanding, I know that we need an edge rush upgrade. But if I'm thinking about offense, right? What if we could make an offensive trade or pick up a big-time wide receiver? What if we could flip Mark Andrews for DK Metcalf? What would that look like? How would that impact us? What if we could just buy our time and grab Davante Adams in free agency? Would Davante really want to play in Baltimore? Or would he just like to follow Aaron Rodgers around like a puppy dog and go somewhere that they're not going to win a championship? I think either one of these guys could be a over-the-top type of piece for the Baltimore Ravens, specifically offense, because you got to remember, it's been the offense that has let us down in some aspects when we show up in the playoffs. And we struggle to move the ball or we have turnovers or whatever situation. And I think a elite type of guy outside, DK Metcalf still is, and Davante Adams is still at the fringe of eliteness. I think that an elite outside weapon will allow us to, stretch that field left to right and north and south, or east and west, north and south. But let's look at some DK Metcalf highlights really quick. So when you look at the DK Metcalf highlights, what do you see? You see an explosive athlete. You see a guy who can take the top off. You can see a guy who can get separation. And I know there's been some questions about DK Metcalf's hands, but when you're watching some of these highlights, what do you see? You see him being a hands catcher, not a body catcher. Now, all wide receivers have drops. But what I'm seeing from DK Metcalf, although I know these are highlights, is an elite level receiver who could take our offense to the next level. I think we could get DK Metcalf if we just trade straight for him and no players included. I think we can get him for a 3rd round pick. And I think we can get him for a 3rd round pick because you've seen some other good wide receivers go for way, way less. You saw Jerry Jeudy traded last year for a 5th. You saw Amari Cooper go for a 5th. You saw Deebo Samuel this season go for a 5th. Now, am I saying that DK Metcalf and those guys are on the same level? No. He's an elite level player and those guys are good players. But I think that if Seattle is interested in getting off that cap space and just getting a fresh start in kind of a rebuild moment, I think we could pitch the right kind of deal and bring him in-house. Yeah, money's always an issue. Money is an issue before DK. Money will be an issue after DK. Money was an issue last year and it was an issue before and it'll be an issue next year. So let's not make money the issue. Let's make winning the issue. But there's another option out there, a big body wide receiver who has elite hands and can still make elite plays, although he's 33, and that's Davante Adams. So let's look at some clips.
It's a 35 from the pocket. Passes there for Davante, and Adams takes it to the 42 before it gives it again. It's the middle. Adams again. Here is Davante Adams with 2 catches on this drive, 1 for 19. This goes for 11. Here's Minshew. Wide open. Davante. And I tell you, we can play running like that, and the offense opens up something. Minshew fires.
Yeah, when you look at Davante Adams clips, what you see is a hands catcher, a guy who can run routes, a guy who can separate, a guy who can make the contested catch. You see a guy who's just really still at the peak of his powers. So when I say peak of his powers, I'm not talking about he's in the prime of his career. I'm simply saying when he's on the field, he still can perform at a peak level for his age. And that's really what we need in Baltimore. We need a guy who just brings something different. We haven't had that trusted big body guy. And either one of these guys, I think, could do something different for the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, I understand we play through the tight ends a lot. But what has that got us? Sticking with just a 2 tight end set, it's cool. It's been productive and been effective. But what if we could be ultimately diverse? What if we could play 2 tight ends and still go 3 wideouts? Not at the same time, of course, that's illegal. But what if we could go three wideouts, use Isaiah Likely, and still line up power in the backfield? See, what I'm saying is getting that top-notch wide receiver to go along with Zay and Bate could absolutely unlock some things offensively. I think the biggest thing that it could unlock, right, if we went 3 wide and you got valid wide receivers at every position, it stretches the field east and west, because now cornerbacks can't cheat in, safeties can't cheat up, because you absolutely have to honor the wide receiver position. And then we still have the option to turn it around and hand it to Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson, jump out the window and go for 20 yards. So you guys let me know what you want me to know, man. DK Metcalf or DAVANTE Adams? And if neither one, I still think Mike Williams could be a viable option. In fact, he may be the most realistic option. But I'm looking for the Baltimore Ravens to add that big-bodied wide receiver so that we're not leaning so heavily on the draft to upgrade the depth at that position. As we close out, I know we got offensive line questions. I know we got edge rush questions. But DK Metcalf being available, basically, and DAVANTE Adams being available, there hasn't been a time like this where the Baltimore Ravens had the option to choose. I'm your guy Boulanger, and I'm out.